All right, this is going to go along with the chapters of my book, and I want to know how everybody feels about it. And I want your emotional opinion on how you feel about what's going on. And I've done the other ones through this like this as I'm writing this book. But let's start with, we'll just go by month to month within the book on how the chapters are written. So we'll go with Get Served. As everything is going great with the family, we'll go back and we'll do a revamp of the past. Okay, so we are at there's a knock at the door. The dad and the daughter have an argument. They're arguing. She's 12 years old. They're having an argument, and the argument is just based on something. The daughter got caught in a lie. She wanted to get out of it. The father did not know that she was actually on. The plot twist on this one is having a electronic device, her tablet, but using the neighbor's tablet and the neighbor's Wi-Fi to be able to talk with a guy that she met online at her mother's, and does not want her dad to find out about it. So she has tea parties in the yard to be able to talk with a boy in Arizona, not thinking her dad would do anything bad, but she knows that her dad's not going to come outside and have a tea party with her and her best friend. Uh, and the whole idea is that she needs to hide it, so they have secret. The best friend and the daughter have secret messages going on with letters and just being kids. And it's an adventure of a child, but it's also kind of hard on the parents, an adventure on the dad. She did something very silly and then lied about it, and her best friend even told on her by mistake. And so the father, instead of getting mad, was asking her. Well, she kept getting mad, and she was just furious. And the father, instead of getting mad, said, "We're going to go for a ride." And so the father and daughter get in the vehicle, but the daughter decides to get into the back seat. And the dad just doesn't understand where all this aggression is coming from. He tells the girl, "Look, if you want to call your mom," and she goes, "I don't want to go back," and she's like, "Well, you know what? You probably should go back to your mom's because I don't want to deal with this right now." And Five's like, "Okay, well then let's just take a ride." So they take a ride down the road to a small town, about 20 miles in each direction. So 10 miles down, 10 miles back, actually a little less. When they stopped in one of the small towns at the gas station, the daughter she's just upset. She's just mad, going through the teenage years, going just so much. And the dad does not know what's going on. And that's going to come up in the next chapter because there is something actually going on that he had no clue what was even being. So as the daughter's getting mad, she finally calms down after running out of the vehicle and calms down, and they get back in. And as they're coming back, the father, they're having a heartfelt, it's like, "Look, I understand you're mad. That's why you go for a ride. I know you're not big on vehicle rides, but that's what my mom and dad used to do to me." Anyway, the daughter started, what a 12-year-old would do. So the father's like, "Here, I'll pull over. You get back in the front." And she's like, no. She was all happy again, and she jumps into the front seat. They're going down. He's like, the father and then the daughter actually then stopped off. He goes, "You know what? It's been kind of a rainy. It was actually a nasty day. It was kind of rainy and nasty, but there was a creek close by, and sometimes you gotta get away from electronics and everything else." So the father and the daughter go to the creek. They have a good time. None of this stuff was videotaped. None of this stuff. It was just a time for the dad and daughter to talk and be. And after that, they went and bought a rose bush with the same name. And they came home, and because of the rain and everything, they wanted to wait. It was a Saturday. They wanted to wait so that the rose bush wouldn't get ruined or anything else. And everything was fine. And nothing was bad at all. The next day, they planted the rose bush, and they had a great time. the father takes the daughter home, gives her a hug and kiss. Now, what the father does not know is the mother is plotting and planning and the reason why is because the feared drug dealer, murderer, who years before was in jail for being part of a huge gang, went to a school and killed somebody. He was in jail. Well, then her brother went to jail for meth and for trying to kill his kid's mom. Like I said, we're gonna have to go back with the story to this part. But the mother was visiting this guy years before in jail and everything else. She even went so far as to help get the guy out of jail and sponsor him. And the grandmother sponsored him to get out. He had no job. But guess what? The gang realized that when he got out of jail that he would be a great person to open up a hub for a drug deal in that hometown. So what the mother never realized is she was being used and played. But the father found out about it. Found out that she allowed this guy, and within him getting out of jail with a week, she basically, guess what? She marries the guy. And she tried to put all these orders of birth. She did everything, so she knew what she did was wrong. She knew that she was never supposed to be taking her daughter to a prison. She knew this, yet she did it anyway. Those stories are going to, like I said, they're going to get into the put in the backside of it. But needless to say, in that particular month time frame, the reason why the daughter was acting like that is because he was back. He went to jail again, but before he went to jail, he met another woman, got her pregnant, had a kid. But while he was in jail, he was still in love, supposedly. Actually, it was the gang. He needed to open up a hub in that hometown so they could distribute meth, so they could get cocaine. They had to get all this kind of stuff, and he was in charge because the one area they needed, they couldn't get into because the police were too thick. They had too many undercover cops. They had too many, but he was going to get it done because that was his job. His dad went to jail for murder. His brother went to jail for murder. Everybody is in family. The thing about it is, what a lot of people don't know is that little boy that he had with his own cousin. So now, fast forward, when he drops off, the mother's mad. She needs to find a way because guess what? He's coming back. He decided he's in love. He got her name tattooed. They got remarried, and they didn't tell anybody. And if anyone finds out that he's back, she loses both of her kids. But nobody knows that. So what the mother does is she calls the family and child department and basically said, because the daughter got home and told the mom, we went on a ride, I was upset. So they came out. She called them. She decided to make this into a bigger deal than what it was. The daughter really didn't think it was even a big deal either. But guess what? The child services never came that following Tuesday. So the father had no clue. So he went and picked up the daughter. The daughter had no clue what the mother did. And everything was fine. But she was upset about the car ride. They were still talking about it, but they knew it. And it was one of those things you just talk about and you get it out of the system, Summer was coming up. Things weren't really going too well. Let's go ahead and add the virus into there. So guess what? The daughter's only around the mom and the dad and the dance and, anything else that she's in. So it was just a really bad start to a year. But end of April, all of a sudden, the mother couldn't figure out why on earth the father was allowed to pick her up. She thought she had the best story. It didn't work. So the child services showed up on the following Friday when it wasn't his weekend. He wouldn't get to see his daughter or anything else. They showed up, and because of the virus, they couldn't go inside the houses or anything else. And they're like, did you? Yeah. But the thing about it is, It was a story that the mother told, not the daughter. Well, they did an investigation, and that next Tuesday, because he never that weekend went and called he was worried. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know that the drug dealer was back. He didn't know the felon was back. He went and picked up his daughter, and he had a cop come because he didn't know what was going on after they showed up at his house and everything, and he still didn't know. And the daughter told him before he showed up, she made sure to tell him that the mother was passing around the grandmother's ashes that they keep in a one-bedroom apartment. And they were talking about grandma before she arrived because the mother knew that the father would be showing up with a police officer and with other people to make sure there was a peaceful transition. But they needed it to appear that the daughter was afraid to go with the dad. But when the dad got the daughter, he said, "You don't have to come with me if you don't want to. I don't know what's going on. I really don't know why." And she's like, "It's okay, Dad. I just didn't like the car ride." Daughter told the dad that she never, the things that was being accused, she goes, "I never said that." I'm like, "Okay." The father was like, "Okay." Sorry, I'm just going as I go on. So there's witnesses. The cops didn't do nothing. But the father asked his daughter, "Why then is your face all red? Why are you so?" She goes, "I'm not afraid to go with you. We were just talking about grandma because the grandmother died. The grandmother who was okay because the grandmother who deals and wields also, who controls the entire family, she died. And now her ashes." And I was like, okay. So I got to think I had to write it. And I was like, okay. So basically, it was a big farce. It was a big show that the mother was trying to do without letting the daughter know what was going on. So the mother is sitting there filming everything every time the father drops off and picks up the daughter. Every time. There's pictures, there's videos of this is what the mother does. The father has still no clue, but when he got the daughter home, she admitted to having a boyfriend in Arizona. She admitted that, this stuff was going on. And when the father brought up about the letters and the stuff back and forth with her friends, she's like, "Yeah, it's been a rough year." But it had nothing to do with her. It was about her best friend. So when the father takes the child back, the mother's just madder than mad. Like she could not believe, because she can't figure out how to keep this guy away. Because if he finds out about the drug mule, about the guy that she's in love with but is actually playing her, she'll lose her kids. She'll go to jail. She will violate every court order that was out. So what does she do? A couple days later, the father's at home. He's on the phone with his lawyers trying to figure out what to do and how they should do it. He's being served with an order of protection now. A 30-page order of protection saying how he makes his daughter dress up in dresses, how he calls his daughter fat and ugly, how some of the most heinous, despicable, unconscionable things. But there's a problem. The journal entries, the writings were not his daughter's. And in fact, he saw them somewhere before. He saw them in the same order of protection that the mother tried to put against him 5 years before, 6 years before. The exact same, but now all of a sudden they're saying that it was his daughter that wrote them. He tells his lawyer what's going on, but now he can't see his daughter at all. They get into May and he can't see his daughter. He can't see his daughter for any holiday. He can't see his daughter. It made no sense. All of a sudden, the child services is back part of it again. Now all of a sudden, child services come in, they do an entire report, and they're like, no, this is still unfounded. They talk to his daughter and everything else, and she said that this stuff never happened. Well, now all of a sudden, they need to have another advocacy network or whatever talk with the daughter because the mother is doing everything to keep this guy from finding out, to keep the father from finding out that the drug mule is back, that the murderer is back, that the guy is sitting there in their hometown to open up a drug trade for a huge gang. But nobody knows this yet. So now all of a sudden the daughter's in there, and it's not, she what goes to the counseling, and she's sitting there saying there she gets talked to by everybody, and the stories are always different. The mother is having the daughter say different things, but nobody knows why. Nobody can understand. The thing about it is the daughter's scared. And while they're sitting there watching all this and everything else, the child services come back and said, once again, nothing wrong. Did nothing. There's nothing. We never found anything. We never seen anything. We didn't do anything. And the father said, you can look and see whatever you want. I don't care. Just take a look. Just protect my daughter. I don't know what's going on. So he starts doing research. Comes to find out, the ex was released from prison the same time that the first child services was called. Problem is, each time somebody was called, the accusations were getting worse and worse for stuff that happened before. Then all of a sudden they're talking about people calling from Georgia and talking like, oh my God, we've seen all these negative, that we've seen all these bad things, and just a whole, but it was actually the mother and the mother's boyfriend that's in town that were having the law called. They were doing it on purpose. They were doing it because he needed to stay in town. He needed to create a hub for his gang. So the father's upset, the daughter's upset, everybody's upset. And now the daughter's told, while she's in counseling sessions, that these will not be looked at by anybody. I need to take a video. The counselor says it. The counselor lies to the child, says no one's going to see this. But in fact, both the father and the mother both get to see it. Everyone gets to see every counseling that she is in. My daughter knows that the mother, who is sitting there waiting in the waiting room, who tells her what to say and do. So then they go to another psychiatrist. That psychiatrist knows that the daughter and mother both have to be talked to. In fact, the psychiatrist decides to walk out and talk to the mother about what the daughter's talking about, even though the psychiatrist just got done telling doctors that nobody else is going to know what they're going to talk about. Days go by. The virus is going by. The mother's constantly coaching and threatening the daughter, telling her that she's going to lose her sister, she's going to lose everybody. Grandma will be so disappointed, forcing her to lie, forcing her to say things, causing the daughter to get more and more depressed, to where these are not things that a child is supposed to go through, but the mother doesn't care. She cares more about the guys that she wants to try to protect and save than to look at her own daughter and see that what she's doing is killing. She's hurting. She's manipulating her daughter at every angle. The psychiatrist said, oh, she's not being coached. Oh, no, the mother. Yet the father's watching videos of psychiatrists saying no one will see this, knowing that the mother gets to see him too. Knowing the mother's right out in the lobby and watching the mother walk in on the same videos that they're saying that, oh, no one's coaching. Well, the problem is nobody knows that this other guy is there also living in a one-bedroom, half-bath apartment. A one-bedroom, half-bath apartment. And he's evil. Beyond comparison, he is evil. He's threatening the daughter every day. He's threatening, the mother's threatening to, they don't want to ruin their perfect little family. One's threatening with violence and rage. The other's threatening with, you're going to break our family apart. You have to do this. The daughter has no school. No social life, no social media, no FaceTime with anybody, no nothing. Just the mother, day after day, telling her what she has to say, think, or feel. And you got the father at home. The mother knows that she's losing the battle, so they take it one step further to the court and says, oh my gosh. The mother decided to lie again. He's got cameras in the ceilings and in the roofs. He's got people spying and watching. Oh my God, all this other stuff. He does drugs and alcohol, yet the father doesn't drink. Father doesn't do drugs. His daughter's got her own room, her own bathroom. She does her own thing. She's even said, Dad's never been naked around me. You know, I sleep in my own bed. He tells me I gotta sleep in my own room. You know? The things that were in the OP, the daughter denied. The order of protection, the daughter denied nonstop. But the cops, mother made the dad look so bad. They came first thing in the morning. We'll say 7 o'clock in the morning. The father hasn't been to bed in 3 days because he's an insomniac. They break down the door. And then they apologize, saying, we didn't think anybody was home. And then they try to say they had a knock warrant. They put the dad on the floor, put him in handcuffs. They pulled the grandfather out of the grandfather's bed, who sleeps upstairs, because he couldn't walk. And they literally pulled him out thinking he was lying. And, you know, they got there and they searched all day. Nothing. They took the father's phones, computers, hard drives, nothing. They saw how much the father loves his daughter, but nothing bad or perverted or even remotely. They saw that the father's part of a lot of things, and there's a lot of people that he knows. So instead, then they decided to interrogate him over and over and over. No food, no water, play good cop, bad cop. They let him go to the bathroom. Boy, the father is just scared. But then cops, they found out that this was the guy that knew that they were cheating on their wives. And the 2 of the 4 interrogators were cheating on their wives. The main interrogator was almost 8 months pregnant. And she's feeling for the kids because she's in mother mode now. She's in nesting mode. 2 of the cops knew that he was the one that knew that they were cheating on their wives. And the 3rd one was sleeping with underage girls. How does he know that? Because he knows who these cops are. He had a club at one time. He knows their dirty little secrets. But they made sure to threaten him year after year that nobody ever better get out of it. And then later on, when they didn't think he was anywhere, they tried to go sleep with the guy that he was dating. Sorry, reverse that, not guy. They tried to go sleep with the woman that he was dating. The dad is not gay. But that's another story. That goes back to the different chapters of the book, to where when he was dating somebody for months, she opened up and said, I've got 2 cops that used to come here all the time. I knew they were married. She didn't have a problem. That's why they broke up, because at the time, even though she cared about him, she was open and honest and said, you know, they would do that. But she knew they were married. She knew they had kids. She knew they had families. The father could not date her anymore. He could not put himself in that position, knowing that she was okay with knowing these guys were ruining their families. It's not really a religion thing, just a conscious thing. How can you cheat on somebody that's not cheating on you? How can you, one of them was abusive even. Cheated on his wife and abused him. They were cops. They were cops. The 3rd one that was sleeping with underage, he was just really, really nervous because he's actually in videos of some of the clubs because he was kicked out for doing it. And he tried and tried to get the guy in trouble, but never happened. Like I said, another book for another day. Going back to the interrogation. The interrogation happened. They didn't let him call his lawyer. They made him sign stuff all day long. Was saying, oh, you can't, you can't do this, you can't do that. Just nonstop. They didn't get anywhere with him. They didn't say anything. They tried to show him stupid things from past lawsuits that were on his hard drives that were for lawyers and for legal eyes only, and He made it very clear. They tried to ask about something where he went to a concert one day and took a video of a concert, not realizing. Got in trouble for that one because it wasn't his music. And that's what he told him. He's like, I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't do anything wrong. One of the cops said, what if I go and do stuff to your daughter? He didn't use that language. He actually said, what if I go and fuck your daughter? What would you do? And the father made it very clear, and he knew he was on camera. He goes, I would fucking kill you. I was like, no one's allowed to touch my daughter. No one is allowed to look at my daughter in a sexual manner. No one is allowed. Why would you say something like that? How would you feel if somebody said something like that about your kids? He goes, well, I'd fucking kill them too. And the dad, he made it very clear that not only does he have his daughter protected, but he has other people protecting also. But right now he can't do nothing because the same people that are supposed to be protecting him and his daughter are not even looking. The father told about the guy and everything else. And you know what the police did? Nothing. They laughed. They thought it was just somebody babbling, somebody talking in circles, somebody. They decided to take pictures of things in the house to try to embarrass him. Telephone cables, because telephone cables don't get used anymore. They destroyed precious works of art that were passed down for generations that could go in auction for thousands of dollars, but they didn't care. They didn't care about the father who's old and geriatrics, didn't care that what they were doing was violating, all because of a lie. The next chapter goes into then the lawyers, that because of the virus and everything else, the courts keep getting pushed out and nobody can get in front, and they keep they just keep extending and extending as the daughter's getting worse and worse. All of a sudden, months later, the father hasn't seen or heard from his daughter. He can't tell anybody about the drug mule and the guy living there threatening his daughter and everything else. But now all of a sudden the daughter is so bad, she's suicidal, cutting herself, and has to be taken to a doctor. And then what's the mother do? The mother says it's all the father's fault. This is what the father has created. But before any of this happened, the daughter at no time was suicidal. At no time was she upset, depressed, or mad. She had a good life. She just started getting weird within that month because the father did not know that the guy was back. He got released from jail. He didn't know that the mother was going up and seeing him where he was from, and he didn't know. Nobody would tell him the information. He did everything to get the information on that guy, but he wasn't allowed because the mother did everything to show that, see, it's all his doing. They wanted the father. They did a bait and switch, make him the bad guy. The mother dated pedophiles in the past, predators, sex offenders, married men. The father's always doing everything to protect his daughter, but he did not know that she would be around the drug mule again. She didn't know she'd be around the guy that went to a high school and killed a high school teenager in cold blood with a 9mm with his buddy. Next chapter. The father doesn't know what to do. He loves his daughter, but he's patient. He loves his daughter with his entire heart. He makes sure she's taken care of. He goes to all kinds of counseling just in case. He does things before anybody requires him to do it, just so he can show that he didn't do it, and he had the court to point whatever it was. Turns out the father's just fine. He didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. Not charged with anything, not done or anything. The police report finally came out, but in the police report, they lied. And then in the police report, once again, well, he didn't really do anything wrong, but he did the police report would not put anything about the drug mule in there either, or how bad the mother is. All it was one-sided. Why? Because now the pregnant police officer, police that were there, they don't want anybody knowing what they said to this guy, yet they knew there's cameras. They don't want the judge to know that the whole thing was biased from day one, that his daughter just became a pawn with cops that didn't like him because he knew the truth, with a mother that didn't like him because if he found out about the truth, she would lose everything, her kids and everybody else because it was more important that she find love with a murderer that never loved her. She didn't know that the father knew that they were talking with the other family and that he didn't, like I said. And if anything, the mother did not have a clue that he'd even know about the other child. More or less his child that she has a kid with, that she had the kid with him also. Or the fact that she got pregnant with him again. All of a sudden, the days and the seasons are passing by and the holidays are here. The drug mule is shot and killed. But no one's supposed to even know he's around. The mother doesn't want the father to have any holidays going to his daughter because all she has to do is say, he's back, and she loses them. That's how easy it is. But the problem is, father is not allowed to have any conversation. So what she does is she says that he violated the order of protection. How do you violate the order of protection? You lie and say that the girl's best friend is a little mole, a little secret squirrel, a little spy. Well, the judge doesn't like that, so they got to do another investigation. While all of it's going on, the daughter's getting worse and worse. The depression is set in so bad. She doesn't have a friend in the world. She's bullied, picked on. When she was with her dad, she could fight back. But with her mom has weakened her own daughter so much to the point, to the water, that where a 13-year-old little girl doesn't want to live, doesn't see a future, because the mother has blocked her. The mother has blocked her daughter from her father. The father made the mother a hero when she was around and never would talk bad. So, that's the first couple chapters. And that'll add to the book that I've been writing, which I have other chapters in there. You have to go back and look. Tell me what you think of that. Pretty messed up. But we're going to get there. We're going to get to the good endings. We're going to get to the happy endings. We're going to get to the good beginnings. It's an entire, like I said, it's a series. But I just need to know this part here without knowing anything else. What do you think? Let me know.